see. Yeah, there we go. Alrighty. Let's see. Alright, let's get the stream started. Um, so whoever is out there watching, listening, thank you. I'll be drawing a couple of my own personal characters. Just basically random doodling. Just whatever pops in my head. I have a couple of ideas, a couple of characters I want to try. And we'll move on from there and just see how it goes. Let's see. Okay. Now, you have to forgive me if there are some lapses in time where I'm not speaking or um, where there's a long pause because I have yet to master the art of being able to speak clearly and draw at the same time and be able to do both well. So maybe some points where I'm kind of pausing to think of what I need to do next or where I would like to go from there. So, let's see. Well, this character is a newer character that's been in the back of my head for a while. It's from, I had done a graphic novel series called Bounty Jack, which is about a bounty hunting rabbit and his former master in a world where overnight all animals became sentient. It's basically like Zootopia, except we stuck around. And basically, these two characters are, we see the world and how the world deals with the aftermath a decade later through these characters. And this is a character that is going to pop up in the return of the series. I did the initial series traditionally, like a traditional comic book. I signed with like an independent publishing company after I published the original version, the original book with Kablam Studios. And the sequels were done with a company called uh, Legion Publishing. Had a brain fart for a minute there. Legion Publishing, which they do a lot of anthropomorphic, if you will, furry, if you will, comic books. And well, considering that some significant uh, number of the cast of that book, the series Bounty Jack, and his name is actually McCabe, but Bounty Jack is a nickname given to him by an old friend. He really doesn't care for nicknames and gimmicks, but he did it to honor his friend after his friend passed. And there should be a link to where you can pick up those books on my website, along with a children's book I did about dragons. And I'll get to those characters in a little bit later. Okay, back to this character. This character is a skunk. Um, she's actually a political activist on Sydney's college campus. And I like to explore the idea of the conflicts that would arise when you have both humans and animals sharing a space together, and the animals are sentient and more or less humans with fur and claws and paws and wings and such. But, you know, what kind of turbulence would arise from that? how will these, how will everyone learn how to get along without killing each other? Um, and I think there would be a lot of friction. And honestly, I think my series is very optimistic as far as the kind of trouble that would arise. If I were to want to be somewhat realistic, taking a realistic approach to fantasy, even though, it is fantasy, but it would probably be R or X rated. More likely X rated. My version is very, very optimistic because I wanted to stress, I wanted it to have a lot of humor in it, albeit gallows humor, but humor nonetheless. And uh, I really only wanted to lightly dwell on the darker elements and not really go too far, too dark, um, but just to occasionally dwell into darker subjects because that's inevitable. And yes, this character is an on-campus activist, and her whole goal is to destigmatize the concept of skunk being a repulsive, uh, repulsive animal, because of the stereotypical, the the joke has always been like the skunk is, the skunk's horrible smell, and she's trying to get rid of that whole stereotype and to garner some more dignity and respect for skunks. Like her heart is in the right place, but she can be quite forward and strident in her mannerisms and in the way she carries herself. So yeah, she's a bit in your face about it. It's always tricky to anthropomorphize female characters because it's really easy to just lay back on like feminine stereotypes, giving the characters a stereotypical hourglass figure and you know other other indications of the feminine gender. So I kind of stay on the outskirts of that, where it's just like you give them enough. She looks traditionally feminine in a way, certain in certain aspects, and you um, you still want to draw realistic characters. Every obviously every female doesn't have an hourglass figure, and that would not fit the character. Her bag is going to rest just behind her hip there. This is indeed a dress. I'm trying to stay right in that realm where it still looks like a skunk, still looks like the animal that I'm trying to depict, but there is still just a little bit of anthropomorphization going on there, where she's standing upright. And in original, see, I've already made it layer. Just call it layer 2 for now. Don't, I'm not going to give it a specific name right now. This is just the ink layer. My sketches are usually a lot sloppier than this, but since I'm demonstrating, I'm trying to be somewhat clean about it. Okay, what was I saying? Um, oh yeah, the character uh, doing animal characters, you try to stay right on the edge of being recognizable as whatever animal you're depicting in, but at the same time giving the character human traits. And I initially tried, I can't think of the name of the style, if the style indeed has a name, um, where it's you're more or less just taking a human body and sticking an animal's head on top of it. And personally, I don't really care for that style. It's too much of the whole uncanny valley thing going on there. It just looks like, you know, some Isle of Dr. Moreau experiment. So I like to keep it a little somewhat cartoony in the designs because honestly, I can't really do hyperrealism to save my life. I grew up wanting to be an animator, a traditional animator, 2D animator for Disney. And it's just, I just kind of started gearing my style toward like somewhere between Looney Tunes and Disney. There's a Disney animator, former Disney animator Eric Goldberg, who has a style that's somewhere between Looney Tunes and Disney. Um, so yeah, he's one of my influences. Or so is Bill Watterson. Um, Currently, the my favorite comic artist is Scotty Young. Um, it's just he's one of the few artists where I can confidently say I love everything he draws. There are certain things uh, that artists draw that I like, and I don't really. Well, it's not their style I really care for, but it's this one or two things that they've done that I like. I really like. But Scotty Young is one of the few ones that I can say yes. Everything that he puts to paper, I like. Just I like his style. I have like the I Hate Fairyland books. I've got some of his Rocket Raccoon books. Um, it's because I had been scared off from traditional comics for a long time because it it started to gear more and more toward photorealism. About the time that I was graduating high school, that was the in style. And I was like, I can't do that. And so I thought I wanted to do a comic strip. And then newspapers started dying. And, you know, everything was changing when I was about to leave school. Newspapers were dying. Uh, Traditional animation was closing up. Disney closed their Florida studios. That was the plan. Go to Ringling or graduate from SCAD. They get hired at Disney in Florida. Well, that ain't how life went. And then they started doing everything on computers, what it felt like everything on computers. And I was like, well, I can't do that. So just kind of kept it as a hobby for a while. And only in recent years I started taking it seriously again. Because it's, the clock was ticking. It's like, do I really, if I really want to pursue this, I best do it now before it's too late or before I completely lose my nerve or just life catches up to me. Not really giving her any muscle, but I don't want to make her look too flabby or too, you know, she's got to have some weight on her. I don't want all the characters to have the same, well, It's a little too far over. I don't want to have the characters to have the same weight and size on them. And I certainly don't want them all to look like supermodels. From a design standpoint, what's that old thing about silhouettes? Uh, Giving all your characters an instantly recognizable silhouette and varying your shapes when it comes to design. I really should stick with just one pen size and just what I'll do is I often go through the drawing in one somewhat slim pen size just to get all the details out. Then I'll go back over them, go back over some parts of the drawing with a thicker pen size, just to emphasize certain parts of the character, just so there's a bit more variation in the line weight and such. And like I was saying, she looks rather cantankerous, but her heart's in the right place. She means well. Okay. I have not decided on what to write on her patches. It's just that she has these patches. Yes, I am kind of playing into a political stereotype, but I mean, it's if the character is not fun to draw, then it's not worth drawing to me. And she's fun to draw. These round rim glasses here. That's, thank you. Okay, it's just a little bit of fur right at the back of the neck, right at the top of the neck there. If I bring that around here, it's this around her muzzle there. And that hat droops down just a little bit. It has to really feel like it sits on her head there. It looks a bit like a cross. I know it's meant to be a beret, but it looks like a cross between a beret and a tam o' shanter. Megaphone for speaking her truth. Yeah, I did the original Bounty Jack series as a traditional comic, and it sold a few copies, but I mean, it didn't sell as well as I wanted it to. And, well, honestly, I'm still learning a lot about marketing myself. It's kind of tricky. I haven't learned balance between your day job and promoting your own side projects at the same time. This is a terrible megaphone. Terrible, as Charles Barkley would say. I'll get it. Close enough. It'll work. You know what it is. Let's see. yeah, I'm gonna start. I'm not gonna do it over, but I guess the term, what's the modern term? Reimagining. I'm gonna still have the same characters. It's still gonna be the same concept. I'm not gonna change the integrity of the characters or the story. I don't believe in that. But it's kind of, I want to, there are some things that I did not get in the first iteration of the character, the idea, and there's some things I wanted to touch on when I go back. And I'm trying to restart it as a web comic, and maybe it would, maybe it would gather a bigger audience that way instead of putting it together in a book and then only releasing some preview pages here and there and hoping to gather an audience from something like that. Just kind of putting a book out there in the void and wondering if anybody's interested in it. Now, the book itself is in black and white. I don't know. I might keep this character in black and white pen. Might not color her. Don't even have a name for it yet. I was thinking Gertrude, but that's too frumpy. What should I name her? What should I name her? Okay. Zoom out. Too far. 15. Just do that. Oh no, that'll work. Okay. So if I can go back over these lines. And make them a little thicker here. Yeah, she appears in the opening of the book. I'm trying to reintroduce this whole world to new readers that um, hopefully will be gathered through web series version of this book. I prefer traditional art, but doing this digitally saves so much money on paper and pens and ink. Oh goodness. I guess I still got a pack of Bristol board, and I've got some micron pens. I still use those occasionally, especially at conventions for on-the-spot commissions and such. But a lot of what I do at home here is digital, and I'm not crazy about doing a whole comic series digitally. It's just I like the idea of physically holding paper when I've done something, and here's the proof that I've done it. Of course there's proof when it's digital, but it's just something about holding that paper. And of course the nightmare scenario of hours and hours of work being done away if you hit the wrong button, or if you didn't save your work and something goes terribly, terribly wrong with your computer. You lose all that. You lose all that work. If you want hyper realistic animals, take a look at Aaron Blaze's live streams. His work is just out of this world. If you don't know who Aaron Blaise is, he is a former Disney animator who's best known for the animated film co-directing the animated film Brother Bear, and he's quite the animal artist. I do like to watch him and try to draw him all, although my stuff does not look like his. And honestly, sometimes it can be a frustrating experience. See, I've done a penny ink drawing. I guess because I'm used to doing this in traditional art. I'm doing it, I'm using a similar technique digitally. Probably not the best technique, but probably more labor intensive than it needs to be. But I like the look. I don't know why Gertrude keeps popping in my head. I'm not naming her Gertrude. Gertrude. Hannah? Maybe Hannah? No. Okay. No, need more white markings on her feet? I might as well. Why not? There's a little separation between there. Let's stick with a sketch pen. And let's have a general area where there we go. It's a little flat. Okay. Okay, let's shrink this down. Take the stabilization off a little. Do let's keep this little shadow. And let's stay with the black and white theme. Another layer. Let's see. Shade. Shade layer. And start with the flats. Change it to thick oil paint. See brush size. And turn it around 48 and see how. Okay. No. Oh. Put that underneath the pen there. There we go. Let's see. Let's see. Turn the stabilization down there. Go down. Yeah, the book. Yeah, I open up the comic opens up with a rather heated conflict going on in the campus cafeteria between a group of skunks and some other students about their right to eat in the cafeteria. And the students' complaint is, "You're skunks, you smell, it causes people to lose their appetites. We don't want you, we don't want you in here." The skunks are like, "No, we have just as much a right to eat here as you do. And besides, we only spray when we're frightened. Well, if somebody sneaks up behind you and scares you, we all have to evacuate the cafeteria. That's not fair." And so I wanted to go back with something like that because it establishes the world that these characters inhabit and that there's conflict and quite a bit of conflict. It's not a completely harmonious place. As I said, I probably won't go too dark, but you know, there's going to be some serious matters popping up now and then. I think I'll keep the fingertips white. It's a fairly new character. I'm still kind of figuring out the design, what I want to keep and what I don't want to keep. This overlaps just a little bit. Okay. I always try to start with the personality when designing a character. So, yeah, I wonder to have a little bit of intimidation to her. I didn't want her to be like too muscled out, and, you know, coming off as a little bit too like over the top masculine. But I wanted her to have a bit of girth to her. You know, where she's walking around on campus and she's she pretty much can make her presence known uh, just by walking around and just you know she's not the biggest person, but you know she's still a little she's big enough to be intimidating. And I'm not trying to vilify her or vilify people like that, any kind of political activist or anything of that nature. Just obviously for entertainment purposes, want you want to push you want a more colorful personality type. Say I want realism, just watch a documentary, but it's a little dark. Okay, let's keep it a little bit lighter. Just just a hint of shadow underneath. Okay, a little bit darker. Just a hint of shadow underneath that muzzle there. Let's keep it this color. I'm trying to think of a shading scheme that works. That works for the comic. That's always a headache for me. I want enough detail that it looks good, but I can't include too much time-consuming detail. because I'll never get the comic finished. I need something that I can knock out in a fairly efficient manner. It still looks alright. Still looks okay. There's still some sacrifices just I have to make just for practical reasons, but I'm ready for that. I, I, I really want to find that balance between aesthetically pleasing and uh, somewhat economical in its creation. Uh, okay, next, let's see. Go back over that. Yeah, make that a little bit lighter since it's inside her glasses there. Yeah, that's gonna work. Let's see. Let's put a little bit of more details there. Because I've seen some artists just, go with completely clean artwork like this. And I just can't. I had to put some shading, some few details back here. Let's see. Oh, well, that's just like whiskers there. That's fine. There we go. A little bit. I try to constantly keep zooming out as much as I'm zooming in, so that the scale of the character's body doesn't go all wonky. So if I stay zoomed in too long and I'm really working on some details, and I zoom back in, zoom back out, and oh boy, excuse me, it looks loopy. Let's see. I work somewhat fast and loose. So, uh, I guess this has a lot to do with my own patience level. It's probably another reason I don't do hyperrealism. I cannot spend days upon days upon days on a single painting and not even come close to what I want. Now, I used to, when I started just doing this kind of shading, I used to put a lot of lines in. I mean, it looked a bit like Art Crumb stuff, just really heavily shaded. Kind of backed off a little bit. Just put some here and there. Back on the legs there. On the feet a little bit. A little bit under her beret there. Slow down a little bit. I don't get too sloppy. I'm happy with that. just a few more hands there. The fingers there. Underneath her chin. Just get a bit of a shadow there. Yeah, I just can't leave it completely bare and flat like that. It just looks too much like a coloring book. That'll work. Put the old John Hancock on it. It's November 21. Oh yeah, dragon. Let's see. Let's get a new one going. What use that? Call this one. I'll name it later. I do that. Just open up, you know, new new files and just we'll figure out what to name them later. Same thing with layers. Just layer one, layer two, and then go back and name the layers later. Okay, this is a dragon. And this dragon is from a children's book I wrote in between finishing the last Bounty Jack issue, which was number 3 back in like 2018, 2019. I can't remember exactly when. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do next. Did I want to continue the series? Did I want to just lay back and just try to sell it? Because it's hard for me to work on something and then do marketing at the same time. Um, there are people that have figured that out. I'm not one of them. So I drew it, then tried to sell it, went to conventions and stuff, and just to keep my mind busy. Just I get this idea of a dragon, a very friendly dragon, um, who okay, let's start over. As I said, the art of speaking and drawing at the same time. I have not mastered. Um, a friendly dragon who um, is right on that line between not being too Sakurai, but at the same time not being too menacing. Who wishes to befriend humans, who wishes to break the conflict between the long-standing conflict between humans and dragons. Just still along that same theme, similar theme, Bounty Jack theme of humans and non-human characters interacting. I don't know. I just keep returning to that theme. I like drawing uh, uh, creatures interacting alongside humans. And let's see, and just do it over again. Zoom out a little bit. Let's make it bigger. Yeah, this dragon is a self-proclaimed expert on humans, and it's gathered from what he's personally experienced. And he's in a book called Rules Civility for the Gentleman Dragon. It used to be Rules of Civility, but I thought that was a bit long. But it's still kind of a long title. But, you know, I wanted it to feel a bit like a book written by a teacher. And that's exactly what this dragon character is. I have not drawn him in a while, so might look a little weird. The design is a cross between dragon, dinosaur, and like a cartoony sea serpent. I don't know if you're old enough to remember uh, Beanie and Cecil. Cecil being the C6 sea serpent. I think that was his name. Uh, that character, I kind of loosely based design on part of the design on that character. I wanted him to look somewhat like an aquatic creature because I gave him like a kind of a uh, teal blue color as far as the scales. Kind of bushy eyebrows here. They kind of do that floating thing above their head. He's got these little spectacles that sit on the bridge of his muzzle. Let's see, the scales. He's got one spike that goes over his head like this, and the others kind of peel back. I thought the scales going up his back and up to the top of his head are kind of like a buzzsaw. And then as it gets over the top of his head here, I want them to kind of lay down, lay over like this. And this one spike kind of, kind of curls out like that. 3 spots on the side of the street. And a couple more here because if he were a human, he would be in his 50s, late 50s. I imagine him being that there. And pencil. So I wanted to do this guy pencil and not ink. Oh, and rules of civility. Civility for the Gentleman Dragon. I keep naming that old name. That was the original name. It is available on Amazon Kindle. I'm in the process of getting a paperback version published. Get that printed out. Probably print on demand though. But I'm trying to get that out. He's got 2 horns by the side of his head. He's not a man. He's not being a He's a nice guy. So it's around that line of being intimidating, but also very friendly looking. He's got a big smile because he's friendly. And that was just something to keep me occupied between other projects. Because I didn't really know what to do. Where I wanted to go after that. So I'd done 3 Bounty Jack issues in a row. I kind of wanted to take a break. Turn this down a little bit. Stabilization. There we go. Set. Shrink it a little bit. Okay. Start with the horns there. Make it a little smaller. 25. Horns. Also, I like pencil because it goes a lot faster. You can kind of sketch a little bit. Response, bushy eyebrows. And the book is basically a spoof on these like manners type books. Oh, when you're encountering a human, do not fly over their village. And do not pick a human up. They will make most peculiar noises, which will not be comfortable to your ears, or something like that. Really, really dry, really dry delivery. Because I knew that would be the most fun of the most fun tone to set with the book. It's a really intelligent character with a super dry sense of humor. And if you know a lot of intelligent people, intellectual people, they tend to have an exquisitely dry sense of humor. Okay. 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 Keep it that, but I'm gonna extend it out here. Back here. The lower lip there. That's right. You can see the other eye, the other people here on the right side, but on the left side is blocked a little bit by the rim of his glasses there. The original designer had this little scaly thing on the bridge of his muzzle, but I think I came back and I did. It's like there's something like that on his stomach, if I recall. Ooh, okay. And we got the buzzsaw scales. It's right here. This, this. And we've got a dragon. A dragon who does not have a name. I don't think he has a name. I never named him. Hello there. I think the book just starts with hello there. Like the sky. Alright. Now let's use the same layers. Let's go to the pen layer. Let's try something else. Well, okay, I'm coming up on an hour. And I wanted to do this stream for an hour, so see, we'll finish off. Okay, it's November 30th. Let's do something Christmassy. Okay, Santa's reindeer. And I imagine, let's do Rudolph. And it's going to look kind of rough because I'm trying to draw a reindeer from memory. So, uh, Rudolph. And again, when I start with the character, their personality, um, with the design, I start with the personality. So imagine Rudolph, since he led Santa's sleigh, um, just imagine that went to his head. He's all arrogant and cocky, and this one little victory, this one thing that he did years ago, that he's famous for, and now it's gone to his head. So now thinks he's hot stuff, and he's like that guy that scored the game-winning touchdown in the championship in high school, and he's been riding that ever since then. He hasn't pretty much peaked then, and it's been all downhill from there. So that's okay. That's the idea behind this design. So It's going to be this arrogant guy. Going to have his arms out. He's like, yo, what's up? He's one of those kind of guys. Think scumbag Steve is a reindeer. So, if I can how to draw a muscle. Reindeer muscle. So, again, arrogance, but big. Finger on his face. It's maybe rough because I said I'm drawing a reindeer from memory and I have not drawn a reindeer in some time. Just know that they have these distinctive nostrils to kind of curve it out, curve in there. And let's just give them the old backwards cap. Again, scumbag Steve energy. I'll draw the antlers later. I was going to start drawing the antlers, but not now. Rough it out there. And there's that song. That song. Was that popping tags or something that popped in my head? I'm gonna pop some tags. Only got $20 in my pocket. Remember that song? Real, because he's got a big R on that chain. This is a guy that like slaps your hand 5 different times. I've drawn a deer character before. I had this little comic strip I was developing one time with a deer character in it, and I grew a newfound appreciation for all the animators that worked on Bambi. Oh, can you imagine drawing those antlers over and over and getting the continuity on the antlers right? It's no wonder there aren't a lot of animated programs or comic strips and stuff that have antlered characters in them. It ain't fun to draw those antlers over and over. Belt buckle, maybe the sagging jeans and such. Say, yo, what's up? And everybody just hates seeing him coming. Yeah, yeah, Rudolph, you know, we know, you led Santa Slay. We know. Oh my gosh, a bro type, right? Bro personality on Rudolph would be hilarious to see. I would want to see that. That would be hilarious. Man. Let's see. Okay, let's make this smaller. the stabilization now. Oh, not that far down. Not that far down. Okay. I turn it all the way up again. Okay, let's see. How do you do hoof hands? Yeah, I'm giving him like the puffer jacket, the starter puffer jacket. I think that's where the years go. I think that's where the years go. Let's see. Kind of looks like a light bulb. Light bulbs on the side of his head. Ironically, it's on the side of his head, not on his nose, being that he's Rudolph and all. Okay, it's like, let's go here. Okay. Right. Antlers. Let's just do the cross. Like, let's just do that. It's got a million-watt smile there. Yeah, let's give him the beer belly. That's what those pants are holding back. And yeah, there's R on it for Rudolph. Rudolph. He's always showing up to the North Pole with another doe on the arm. I'm not drawing all these links. Okay, there we go. There, you get in. It's a chain. Okay. The R again for Rudolph. I mean, yeah, he's kind of a jerk. He's kind of annoying, but bless his heart, what does he have? What else does he have? Let him have that. I mean, they don't even need Rudolph anymore. They've got GPS. You know, he's just purely there for publicity reasons. It's like he gets too arrogant. Like Santa quickly reminds him of the fact that he's just there for publicity. Here, and of course, you could even say it glows, because it does. Of course, it doesn't glow as bright as it used to. I'm not erasing this one. I'm keeping this one because it's funny. This one's funny. I'm keeping this one. I'm gonna post this on, put this on Twitter probably. Maybe some other other sites. Maybe. Okay. Again, signature November 2021. Okay. Oh, I went over a little bit, but that's okay. You know, if you get an idea, go with it, even if you go over this a little bit. So I'm not sure who's still watching, or if you've been watching the entire time. Thank you. Uh, if you just now tuned in, well, you're at the end, but I mean, you can always go back. And so I thank you too. Um, I'm considering doing another one. I might have some music this time, and might have some requests added to it. So definitely gonna save this one. And I'll save it later. So again, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have a good evening. And I hope you'll able to join me again for the next time I do it. I'm not sure when. I will certainly let you know. I will certainly post it on Twitter and such. Until then,